On behalf of NADRA, I would like to acknowledge the efforts of the Ministry of Law and Justice, National Police Bureau, and the Special Committee for their dedication and leadership in making this event possible. Special Committee has done a lot in this regard, and I congratulate the chairperson specifically for her efforts and making all this possible. This initiative marks a significant milestone in our collective efforts towards fighting the sexual violence, a menace that continues to threaten the safety and dignity of so many members of our society, particularly women and children. NADRA is proud to support the initiative that promotes the human rights and inclusivities such as endeavors aimed at increasing national registration of women, children, transgender persons, and religious minorities. Likewise, the technical development of the Digital Sex Offender Register marks a significant milestone in NADRA's objective of supporting national causes. The register will play a vital role in improving our nation's response to the sexual violence and bring hope for greater protection and accountability and deterrence. Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of this register is more than just creation of a database. It symbolizes the determination of the government to leverage modern technology to help solve complex problems. With the state-of-the-art digital infrastructure and sophisticated protocols for ensuring data protection and privacy in place, the register will support our law enforcement and criminal justice agencies in creating a safer nation and secure information that need to ensure vigilant monitoring, support investigation, and reduce likelihood of the reoffending of the sexual crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, we must not, however, view technology as a standalone solution. It's a powerful ally, but its effectiveness hinges on our continued vigilance, integrity, and firm commitment to uphold the rule of law. This National Sex Offender Register process will go on. We started it today through launch of this National Sex Offender Register, but it will keep on improving with your feedbacks, with all the feedbacks of the relevant agencies, development in the IT and development in the infrastructure. We appreciate the efforts put on by the police, by National Police Bureau, Ministry of Law and Justice, who have done a lot to make it one final package as the National Sex Offender Register, and we assure you that it will be done while respecting the rights and dignity of the citizens. Because being a custodian of the national database, NADRA has always kept it supreme that they should ensure the security and privacy of individuals while ensuring the rule of law. We'll be adhering strictly to protocols, to the principles, and to the due processes. Today's launch sent a clear message. Pakistan stands firm in its commitment to address sexual violence and build a safer and more just society for all. I extend my sincere gratitude to everyone who has made this initiative possible. Let us all continue to work hand in hand and improve it further for this important cause. Thank you very much all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now have the pleasure to introduce the Director General, National Police Bureau, Mr. Muhammad Tahir Rai. Mr. Rai is a seasoned career police officer with over 3 decades of impactful service in Pakistan, having held key leadership roles across Punjab, Sindh, and Balochistan. Renowned for his counterterrorism expertise, he led Punjab's counterterrorism department from 2014 to 2021, implementing modern strategies that significantly advanced Pakistan's security efforts. He has also served as the Inspector General of Police, Balochistan, the Director General of the Federal Investigation Agency, FIA, as well as the National Coordinator at the National Counterterrorism Authority, NACTA. He has received the Hilal-e-Shujat and Sitara Imtiaz for his extraordinary contributions to this field. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Rai to the stage for his address.
Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Madam Aisha Raza Farooq, Chairperson Anti-Rape Special Committee. Mr. Umar Manyar, Consultant Community Protection. Chief Operating Officer of NADRA. Respected ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today marks a historic moment in Pakistan's law enforcement journey with the launch of our first digital sex offenders register. This milestone underscores our commitment to enhancing the safety of our communities and strengthening the criminal justice system to address and prevent gender-based violence. This achievement is the result of dedicated collaboration among government agencies. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Ministry of Law and Justice, NADRA, the Special Committee for the Anti-Rape Act, for their commitment, which has helped Pakistan become 41st country worldwide to implement a national sex offenders register. The establishment of sex offenders register fulfills an essential mandate of the Anti-Rape Act 2021 and represents a proactive response to reducing recidivism, that is reoffending, among the offenders. By consolidating crucial data about convicted offenders, the sex offender register is poised to strengthen our ability to monitor, manage, and restrict the actions of those who have posed a risk to society. This digital system equips law enforcement agencies, including police, prosecution, and prisons, with timely access to vital information, facilitating a coordinated response that enhances public safety. In today's world, law enforcement agencies are facing unprecedented challenges in balancing increasing demand for services with limited resources. Integrating technology in our work has become indispensable, allowing us to adopt data-driven approaches to policing, like hotspot analysis and predictive profiling. These things help us prevent and reduce crime. The Anti-Rape Act 2021 emphasizes this need by mandating a national register of offenders and enabling digital tools to protect our communities. Under the 2023 SOR rules, the National Police Bureau is tasked with the operational oversight of this register. The National Police Bureau has long-standing reputation for pioneering initiatives in support of law enforcement with a commitment to upholding human rights and highest ethical standards. The Gender Crime Cell at the National Police Bureau serves as a prominent example of our efforts collating national data and on violence against women and coordinating with the partners both nationally and internationally. Now, with the sex offender register, we have streamlined secured, a data protected system. For this, and National Police Bureau is responsible for ensuring that all data entered, modified, or retrieved from the register is done strictly for law enforcement purposes, following legal protocols for data release and upholding higher standards of privacy and data protection. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that repeat offenders in sexual offenses are a significant concern worldwide, often committed by individuals already known to law enforcement. However, the absence of accessible conviction records and case detail has historically limited law enforcement's capacity to prevent recidivism effectively. This digital sex offenders register addresses this challenge by centralizing information, including data profiles having DNA, fingerprints, prior convictions, and behavioral patterns, creating a comprehensive resource for law enforcement officials. By facilitating timely data sharing across provinces, this register ensures that vulnerable people are protected and valuable information is available to those who need it the most. Finally, I would like to once again extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Special Committee, NADRA, for their invaluable contribution in developing this system, and to all my colleagues in the police, provincial prosecution services, the upskill program, whose support and expertise made this milestone possible today. The National Police Bureau is proud to be a custodian of this register, and we are confident that this tool will serve as a crucial role in safeguarding valuable information and protecting vulnerable individuals, fostering a safer society, and setting new standards for provision of justice in Pakistan. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. I would like to extend my gratitude to all the speakers for their insightful addresses. The Federal Law Secretary will join us shortly for his address. Your contributions today have provided us a clear insight into the utility and role of Pakistan's sex offender register, as well as its global use in the fight against sexual violence. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and inspiring us with your commitment to this vital cause. Since we have a delay in the Law Secretary coming, we will now open the floor for Q&A. We kindly ask that each person asking the question briefly introduces themselves and then asks one question at a time. This will give an opportunity to others to engage. Thank you. The floor is now open for questions. Can the gentleman be given a mic? There's a question at the back.
Hello everyone. My name is Ilham Khan and I'm researcher researching on child protection in Pakistan community.
Sir, just to request you, can you speak a little louder, please?
Okay. My name is Ilham Khan and I'm a researcher. I'm researching on child protection in Pakistani communities. Our focus is on child sexual abuse specifically. My question is there any difference between this number and this SOR? This number is a class in police station where the police keep the records of the criminals. So is there a difference here? And isn't it a permanent tag on the offender? Is there any procedure to remove that tag or it will remain permanently throughout his life, or if he want to do some job or to go any foreign country, so there will be it is a passport. So anyone, any country will allow him to stay at the other country. And there are many questions just for now. So I have also authored a book.
Thank you, sir. We'll take these first two questions and then we'll come to you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
जी ऐसा ऐसा है कि जो आपने 10 नंबर रजिस्टर की बात की है, जो 10 नंबर लोगों को बिल्कुल इससे डिफरेंट है। वो हमारे जो सीरियस क्रिमिनल्स होते हैं पुलिस स्टेशन लेवल पे, वो हम उनका डेटा वहाँ पे पुलिस थाने में उस रिकॉर्ड में हम रखते हैं। ये जो रजिस्टर बना है ये सिर्फ सेक्स ऑफेंडर्स के लिए है और इसमें एक ख़ास अरसे तक के लिए उनकी इन्फॉर्मेशन रखी जाएगी, जैसा कि हमने एक्ट और रूल्स में बेसिकली रूल्स में प्रोवाइड किया है। तो एक तो आप जहन में रखें कि इसका बिल्कुल 10 नंबरी रजिस्टर से कोई ताल्लुक नहीं, एक नया रजिस्टर बना है जो कि नेशनल पुलिस ब्यूरो मेंटेन करेगी यहाँ पे, और उसके जो यूज़र्स हैं वो हमारे जो लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट ऑफिसर्स हैं वो किया करेंगे थ्रू प्रोसिक्यूशन। सेकंड पार्ट का आंसर देने के लिए मैं उमर साहब से रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि वो बताएँ जो बाकी सवाल है।
Right. The second thing you mentioned was around permanence, and I think that's an important question. That's also why you would have heard a lot of people mentioning privacy. And so the current framework is divided up based on risk. So anyone that's punished with imprisonment for 7 years or more is categorized as a category A offender, and they will be managed for 5 years after they are released from prison. After that, the record will be removed from the sex offenders register. So there isn't that permanence. So that's one aspect. The second aspect you mentioned around that is, if somebody's been marked permanently, will they be able to travel? So I can tell you, in terms of information exchange with other countries, Pakistan gets notifications of incoming travelers that are convicted sex offenders in other countries via Interpol at this point in time. So the numbers for the UK are between 15 and 20 managed sex offenders in the UK travel to Pakistan. Either they're deported and they travel, or they're voluntary traveling and they're coming to visit family or friends. And so at this point in time, Pakistan didn't have a system to record such foreign convictions. It will require a legal amendment to make sure that those are added to our sex offenders register. But similar to us receiving information, there's also reciprocity where Pakistan should be able to share that information out as well. And so while somebody is on the sex offenders register and they're managed as an offender, whenever they notify the police that they intend to travel abroad, there is a process through which the police will inform the FIA, and then the FIA can consider whether it is appropriate to share that information with the country that they intend to travel to.
Thank you, Omar. I'd just like to add to that. You referred somewhere in your question of whether the register and the people on the register, will those names be used anyway to affect their employment and so forth. For the moment, no. The way the Act only allows us to use the sex offender register for investigation and prosecution purposes and for managing them. And for right now, we are not going, this is not going to be made public. And I think hopefully later on the special committee members feel very strongly that when you're managing sex offenders, you should be allowed to share this data with schools, with hospitals, with employers if required, so that their sex offenders should not be employed in certain conditions depending on the nature of their offense. And so forth, whether they had offended, sexually abused children, violated children, they should not be near children when they're being managed. But that is something that we will come to, but that will require some amendment in the law, the Parent Act, but for the moment, it will not be used for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Any other questions? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum ji, Nize Banu, Executive Director Sahil. This is a wonderful first step, I must say, because civil society has been wanting this for a long time. And it's a wonderful coordination, and I think very important, especially for the law enforcement agencies, so that they are on the same page. However, ji, I do have a concern that one of the main reasons for a sex offender register is to protect the vulnerable groups that where they may appear to work or whatever. And in that case, as you have just mentioned, that you do not share data. In that case, those people who are employing, for instance, children in a school or in a nursery or any of the places where children are being, where children are involved, you don't share the data with them, but they are incumbent to check that the person they're employing is not on that data. So they just tell you that this, we want a clearance that this person, because this is the most important part of it. The coordination amongst agencies is very important, but this is the real reason for a sex offender register. So I do hope that you could be able to do at least this, that only they should check whether this person, and you can say advisable to hold, to employ or not advisable. You don't even have to give any more detail of that. So the confidentiality remains. However, this is, makes the vulnerable group secure. That could be for women or children. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And let me be very candid with you. The special committee, when we were debating the sex offender register rules, I think of all the rules that the committee was able to notify in over the last year or year and a half, these rules took us the longest because there was a lot of debate for precisely the reason that you mentioned here, that they should be allowed to be utilized for public use, whether it's school owners, principals, and so forth. But we had to play very cautious here because Pakistan does not at the moment have any data protection laws. One, that. Two, you know, when you're making rules, you have to stay within the ambit of the Parent Act, what it allows or does not allow you to do. So unfortunately, this is one step forward. And as you know, law, I mean, you know, these are an evolving subject. And I think let's make the rules, set the registry up for the purpose that the Parent Act allows us to use it for. But the special committee, all members also felt exactly like you feeling today, that there should be wider usage of this register. And I think we are thinking of in amending the law and then to allow this SOR registry to be used for the purposes that you've just mentioned here. Thank you. Umar, you want to add to that?
No, just I think one sort of caveat to that. So when you look at how sex offender registers are used around the world, as I said, most of them are closed to the public. Unlike the US, where it's either SMS based or you can even geolocate sex offenders through telephone apps. And there is that trade-off, as I said, between the privacy of the sex offender that has been convicted, that has arguably served their sentence, and is now there's a potential to rehabilitate them back into society. So there's a major trade-off to consider there. And so even in the first round of rules, when this was included as an option, the concern really is in the exercise of that discretion in deciding whether this is a valid request for a check against the SOR or somebody is checking, for some other purposes that may or may not be valid, and whether the officer who's making that final decision about releasing that information, how much discretion can we allow? So I think the committee decided to take a cautious approach in the beginning, but you're absolutely right. We should be able to tell if somebody is a convicted offender or not. Police conviction records are public information. The other stuff that's on the register, such as their current address, where they work, things like that will have to remain confidential for privacy reasons.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum ji, Mohammad Usman Hamid Awan here.
We could hear you.
Okay.
It's working.
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये कि पहले फेयर ट्रायल होने से पहले फेयर इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो सकती है, क्योंकि हम ये सुन रहे हैं कि ये सिर्फ ख्वातीन के लिए, बच्चों के लिए, और यहाँ पे काफ़ी ज़्यादा मर्द बैठे हैं जो भी इस चीज़ का शिकार हो सकते हैं। और अगर इस रजिस्टर में फॉल्स एलिगेशन के साथ वुमेन कार्ड यूज हो के नाम चला जाए तो क्या मर्दों को कोई इसमें रिलीफ मिल सकता है?
जी थैंक यू। मेरी माजरत अगर मैंने अपनी स्पीच में इम्प्लाई किया हो कि ये रजिस्टर या ये लॉ जो है सिर्फ औरतों और बच्चों के लिए है, I'd like to apologize for that, creating that confusion. This law is gender neutral. This Anti-Rape Act, Investigation and Trial Act 2021, it applies to all genders across. The reason I think I talked more about women and children were because data shows primarily women and children to be most affected here. और दूसरा सवाल आपने कहा alleged हो के आप your name doesn't come here on mere allegation. You have to be convicted by a trial court, and that is when your name, so only a convict's name will come onto the SOR register. And if that convict's name is removed as a result of an appeal in the next higher court, तो आपका अगर क्विट हो जाते हैं तो आपका नाम उससे रिमूव हो जाएगा. सो इट इज़ नॉट अप टू अस और दी MOLJ और नादर और NPB कि वो अपनी विम्स के मुताबिक किसी का नाम मेयर एलिगेशन पे डालें. अ कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ हैज़ टू convict you for the crime, for the offense, given the scheduled offences under the Anti-Rape Act, before your name will come onto this registry. Thank you.
Any other question?
Thank you. My name is Hajra. I'm a research associate at Islamabad Policy and Research Center Institute. So my question is that, like you said, the main problem in this country is the lack of reporting. So is there some work being done on that, and also along with the launch of this registry, like is there some promotion or some visibility to areas where reporting is a bigger problem? For example, areas like Kasur and वहाँ पे कोई information ज़्यादा उन्हें provide की जा रही, are there campaigns to make it known कि more reporting will lead to this registry being more comprehensive?
Thank you, Ji. I think I've always maintained, whether in my work as chairperson of the National Commission on the Rights of Child or chairperson Special Statutory Committee on Anti-Rape, that no matter how strong laws we enact, they're useful and they're put to use only if there's awareness, and women and children and men who are a victim of sexual offense and abuse come forward, report, and get the system rolling through an FIR and so forth. The idea of this act and the SORs and all the structures that have been envisaged and put in place, such as the anti-rape crisis cells, the special investigation units, special courts, special prosecutors, is to give our victims that confidence to come out, to report the crime more confidently in the secure environment of an anti-rape crisis cell, which is set up inside hospitals, not police stations, so that you get medical legal advice under one roof. So that is one part of it. But of course, I think we have to keep the realities of our culture, our society in mind also. And if we will continue to stigmatize and victim blame and victim shame our survivors, like we see across at all levels, then this law will not be put to the use it's intended to do. So the committee is working on awareness programs, awareness raising through the help of various partners, development partners here. And I call upon each one of you present here today. I think it is something we need to do collectively. As you know, attitudes and behaviors are most difficult to change. And you need to be patient and you need to be consistently giving the messages across. So I'd urge each one of you, whether it is your sisters, your co-workers, your daughters, give them the confidence. I hope, God forbid, no one has to ever be a victim here of sexual abuse or violence. But we need to support women and children and men around us to come and report openly. So it doesn't happen only with awareness campaigns. I think the society collectively needs to come forth and give that support, ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग आएं, FIR करवाएं, report करवाएं, और हम लोग we are conducting trainings with the help of our partners upscale also, who's a major partner here, trainings of prosecutors, training of police also, so that they are more victim-centered. When a victim comes to them, they are more compassionate, listening to them, and we're urging for more female police women to be inducted, because data shows that when the first responder is a female, then a female victim is more candid, open and comfortable in reporting the crime to a female police officer.
I'll just add to that. I think, you're absolutely right, madam. You raised a couple of really important points. So one, people should know about the law. Then there's the element of trust in law enforcement. Right? In this, we're talking about behavior change compared to decades of practice and learned behavior, which will take time. I was part of a panel discussion yesterday that was talking about abuse and harassment, and I think the panelists there expressed a lot of confidence with the next generation of young people that are more active on social media, when you see that reporting and talking about sexual violence has increased. And one piece of evidence or data that we do have is what Punjab has managed to achieve in the last year and a half, where the data from Punjab shows that reporting of rape in that province has nearly doubled, to a point now where 95% of all rape cases reported last year that were reported to the police came from Punjab, according to a report by SSDO last year. And so when the police does work on building trust more broadly, and then as a society, of course, when we can get to a point where we can talk about sexual violence more openly, then absolutely, I think the results are promising.
Thank you, Uma. There's a lady who wants to ask a question.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatima Afzal, and I'm a consultant working in the gender social inclusion space. This was a very informative session, and I would like the panelists to tell us a little bit more about the psychiatric support and recovery processes and measures for the perpetrators, because sex offenders have very deep-rooted mental issues and problems which prompt them to fall into this behavior, and it takes a lot of protracted recovery and counseling and support for them to recover, and especially for somebody to have their name taken off and not fall back into that pattern. It's quite a complex and tricky issue. So it would be helpful to know what are the measures for helping these people who are not mentally well to recover and become whole again. Thank you.
Right. I'm by no means an expert in psychiatric support for rehabilitation of sexual violence. So whatever I'll tell you is what I've heard as part of our research for this support. Right. I think, one, there is a recognition in the Anti-Rape Act that it is possible to rehabilitate or reintegrate offenders. And so the Act actually provides for that. That hasn't really been operationalized. So there have been various initiatives about introducing psychosocial support in prisons generally. And so in Punjab, for example, which I'm more familiar with that context, as well as Sindh, you have, they are staffed by psychologists that primarily help in risk assessment and the categorization of prisoners while they are in prison. They don't necessarily deal with this, right? But having said that, because you have a government employee that's there and they do have additional capacity, there is absolutely an opportunity to use existing capacity and existing government officers to deliver rehabilitation and psychiatric support. But that hasn't really been provided for at this point in time. The only other thing that I can tell you is that there are certain offenders that cannot be rehabilitated when it comes to sex offenses. And consistent research has shown, particularly when it comes to offenders that offend against children, that is something that may not be appropriate for rehabilitation at all. And so, again, there will be some folks that will stay on the sex offenders register and should stay on the sex offenders register for longer. But hopefully this tool will evolve to involve a dynamic risk assessment that also considers psychological treatment.
Let me add into this that this is, madam, just the first step where we make a record, keep the record of the repeat offenders and sexual offenders, so that the law enforcement and the society knows about them. And it also impacts them because people are conscious about this, that their record is being maintained, and they may are afraid of re-offending from that. But that steps you mentioned, they will come after some time when we put into operation all these facts, and then we make some progress. And as the committee is continuously working on this, so in future we can consider the steps like giving this support to the perpetrators psychologically, so that they do not reoffend, and they are sent to in some rehabilitation process that may come in future. Thank you.
Let me add to that I think, being very candid, when this law was enacted, it was enacted before I was invited to head the special committee, but the idea was to look at it from a victim-centric lens. And I think you're right in pointing out, as you have, that sex offenders also, of course, very much have their rights, and some of them may need more prolonged rehabilitation, psychiatric help. But that is something I think we will and we should look into. But right now, the Act primarily talks about independent support persons and medical legal help and advice and support for victims primarily. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Madam, I am Dr. Akhtar Abbas from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Police. My question is of very basic nature. How it will be ensured that all the convictions under these heads are entered in the registers? Would there be some sort of automatic response from once a person is convicted, or will it be depending on the operator that he has to make entry? What will be the mechanism that to ensure that all such convictions are entered in this register? Number one. And secondly, how the provinces will be able to retrieve this information, whether they will be provided certain sort of logins, or each time they will be requesting NADRA or the National Police Bureau to retrieve this data. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you. I think so. There is a methodology of this data flow at the time of a conviction, from the special prosecutor to National Police Bureau, and then of course retrieval. Everyone and anyone cannot retrieve the data. So I think I will request our friend from NADRA.
Yeah, basically at this point of time we have got single point of communication, that is the National Police Bureau. And the police departments have to communicate, or the special prosecutor, and then the court of through the court of law, they have to communicate to the National Police Bureau, and that data will come to NADRA. But looking at it from a database point of view, we have no limitations. In future, we can provide this access to sending for sending the data to NADRA, to the police departments, to the law enforcement agencies, and a number of other stakeholders. So we have kept that functionality in our application software, where multiple stakeholders can communicate to us. And since the basic identifier will be the CNRC, so we have a number of other databases, and we have got interoperability between various databases. So this can develop into a very comprehensive database, where a person who is identified as a sex offender can through the NADRA database, we can identify a number of other factors related to that person, as to where the person travels or traveled, or where did he or she educate, and other such like information. So we have no limitations, but for now we have developed the software application that it is just single point of data entry, that is National Police Bureau, in order to keep sanctity of the data. Secondly, coming towards the reporting side, the reports will initially be available to the National Police Bureau and we'll be providing them the terminals. And if at a later stage the government decides, or if the law permits, we can just give it to the law enforcement agencies as well. Like in many other cases, we are providing, as Nadra, we are providing support to the law enforcement agencies through direct access of need to know basis kind of data. So in order to ensure the security and the privacy of individuals, we would be initially keeping it very limited, but at a later stage, this can be expanded to a number of other stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Let me just add that basically the public prosecutor is obliged under law and rules to give the information immediately after conviction to the National Police Bureau. Once, and it's on a specific form called Form A. And when that information comes to Bureau, it will be fed in our system and it will remain available for any retrieval on any specific request according to law. So procedure is there. Obviously, we in the department will have to monitor. The monitoring responsibility has been given to National Police Bureau. We'll be monitoring that and on these things and seeing that if there is any lapse somewhere, the concerned department may be requested to remove that lapse and the information is entered immediately. But there are time limits on information. That will be done. Thank you.